Hello, everyone. This question is, does the college that you go to matter that much? Um, this is a very frustrating answer, but I'm going to say it depends. So, if you're comparing Columbia to Rutgers, right? Uh, that is a very, you know, in that case, obviously where you went to school matters. If someone's comparing a candidate from Columbia versus a candidate from Rutgers, um, the guy from Columbia is gonna win out. There is something to the name brand of universities. Um, there is something to the credibility that those names bring companies. I mean, if a company doesn't have anyone from Columbia, they're gonna hire someone from Columbia. There are people out there who are they will want to be able to brag about the fact that they are supervising or managing people from Columbia, right? The bragging rights are a real thing. And the credibility, right? I mean, if a company has people from the Ivy Leagues, that makes them look more official. That adds credibility that we have someone from an Ivy League working with us, right? That builds trust with customers. They're customers are gonna be like, oh shoot, they have some smarticle people over here, right? They have a well-read folks working for them. So, where you go to college matters, but if we're talking, SUNY Binghamton versus SUNY Stony Brook, it's a SUNY school, right? It's sort of in the same bucket. It's the same category or same tier. That in that case, if you're going to these two schools or you can't decide, just try to don't worry too much about the school at that point or career prospects, because you're going to be fine afterwards either way. Like, both schools are similar enough. It's not much of a difference. So where you go to school matters, but don't get too caught up on life after school to the point that you're splitting hairs. I know when I was in high school, people were comparing UMass of Boston to UMass of Amherst. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Or Stony Brook versus Binghamton versus Buffalo versus New Paltz, or this and that. Where you go to school matters, but the differences are really, I look at it that people put colleges into, different tiers, right? You have the Ivy Leagues, or the ones that are close to Ivy Leagues, right? So you might, with Columbia, you'll have Johns Hopkins, which isn't officially Ivy League, but it's obviously, it's up there. Carnegie Mellon is up there. University of California education system is up there. Like that, those are the top schools. And then the second tier would be like Rutgers, NJIT, TCNJ, SUNY Stony Brook, CUNY schools, and whatnot. So, as long as you go to a school that has a name that is kind of well known, you'll be fine. You don't want to go to a school that people have to Google the name, because then you're just going to run into a problem. Not to say that you won't get hired or anything, but it doesn't look good when you go to a school that people have to look it up, right? Is this a real school? So where you go to school matters. I mean, the reputation of the school does help. But at the end of the day, your value, your experience, I mean, that's the most important thing. Like, I think school, this question read to me like someone who was either considering going to college, or is in college, or recently graduated. I mean, I don't know much about where they are in their stage of life. But I've spent so much time talking about how much what school you go to matters, or what scenarios it will matter in, that I forgot to mention, after your first 2-3 years of working, where you go to college doesn't really matter. It will factor in, obviously, because again, if all else is equal, right? If they're comparing two guys who have similar experience, right? They both have 5 years of experience. What's going to differentiate them, right? Where they went to college, or maybe who's closer, right? If they don't have to pay relocation. So where you went to college might matter right after college. But the further away you get from college, the less it matters. But it always will remain a factor. If, at the end of the day, you just aren't differentiated enough by your unique experiences, your university might come into play. So with that said, don't don't stress it too much or don't spend too much time. If you're comparing schools that are comparable, then neither one is going to help you over the other, right? Like if you compare TCNJ to NJIT or NJIT to Rutgers or Rutgers to, I don't know, Montclair, it's all the same. They're all very similar. Actually, I don't know why I said Montclair. I think Montclair's a good school, but I don't think it's up there in the same tier. But yeah, Rutgers, NJIT, and TCNJ, for example, are, they're similar schools. Or Rowan University. I think that's the one I meant to say instead of Montclair. Rowan is up there with Rutgers. So, if you're comparing these school names, then the school really doesn't matter. All of them will help you be successful. But if you're comparing, University of Chicago or something to a state school, then obviously one of them is far superior than the other. So, short answer is it depends. Long answer is it really depends. And it there's just so many different scenarios where your school really matters, and then plenty of scenarios where it really won't matter.